Hello, hello, hello. You're welcome. My name is Kwame Gonza. Once again, this is Africa Reimagined, where we talk about the world events and how they affect Africa. Now, recently, there has been a warning that came from the Chinese Minister of Defense called Wang Fenghe. I know that is a very hard name, but it is a Chinese. The Chinese Minister of Defense is called Wang Fenghe. He came out to put a warning out there and specifically warn the United States and its allies how they have been pivoting towards the South China Sea. As you have seen, they came from Afghanistan after attacking Libya, killing President Muammar Gaddafi. Afghanistan, Iraq, all these places. Now they have gone to attack Russia, and now they are pivoting towards Asia. In the South China Sea, where they are antagonizing China. And these people have been causing a lot of chaos, and in fact they are putting the world in a very, very dangerous place. They are putting the world in a very deadly place, okay, because these countries that are being antagonized, like Russia and China, all of them have nuclear weapons, and like China has made it clearly that has stated it clearly that their weapons, their nuclear weapons are for defensive means. They are not for attacking anyone. So you can be guaranteed that Russia and China will use the nuclear weapons if they are pushed to the brink. And this is what these Europeans, the United States and Europeans are doing. And we really don't know what is wrong with these people, that they always want to cause war, want to cause chaos all over the earth. But I think that the world needs to come together. But what is it, what is in it for Africa? What is the lesson for Africa here when we look at this speech? So let me play you this speech so you can judge. You can judge for yourself and be able to understand what is going on in the world. Maybe we'll come back later and talk about this speech. Thank you.
很高兴时隔3年 再次参加香格里拉对话会。
After 3 years.
首先
First, I want to thank Dr. Chipman and the WWS for the invitation.
新加坡政府、国防部和黄永红部长的周到安排。
Minister Ng Han for your hospitality.
各位同事
My colleagues,
在这里相
I believe we come here today
相信
for
都是为了
shared
同一个目的，
purpose.
那就是为
We're here
友好
for
合作
friendship,
为发展
cooperation,
而来，为维护
and we are here
和
for
平
regional
稳
peace
定而来。
and stability.
下面我就
Now,
我对地区秩序的
I
原
will
则
share with
做
you
发言。
China's vision for regional
第一个
order.
问题，
Number one,
人类社会
our world
正经历
is facing
史上
multiple crises,
罕见的
rarely seen in history.
出路
And
在于维护和
the
践
way
行
forward
多边主义，
is to uphold
构推
and
动构
practice
建
multilateralism and build a community of shared
世
future
界之
for
变
all.
时代之变，
Today,
历史
we
之
are
变
witnessing historic
以前
and
所未有的
unprecedented
方式
changes.
展开。百年变局
In addition
和世界
to
疫情
the geopolitical shift and the once-in-a-century pandemic, the Ukraine crisis has further changed international strategic landscape.
乱局，
There are more crises and chaos,
世界
and our
既不
world
太平，
is neither peaceful nor tranquil.
但是和平与发展
However, China believes that peace and development should always be the shared goal of
无
humanity.
论是赢得
Whether to win the final victory over COVID
经济
and achieve economic recovery,
无论是消
or
除战
to
乱
stop war
和维护
and
和平
safeguard peace
还是捍卫
equity
国际公平
and
正义
justice,
都需要
we
各国
in all
守
countries
望相助
should reach out to each other and work together to tide over the current difficulties. As an ancient Chinese philosopher said, maintaining the right conduct and upholding justice should be the way to follow across the world. Yesterday, Secretary Austin addressed the first plenary session. I disagree with some points he made and firmly reject the U.S. smearing accusation, even threats against China. China believes, first, we should strengthen solidarity and coordination and oppose confrontation and division. COVID-19 is still raging across the world, with new variants increasing and spreading much faster, taking a great human toll. How the pandemic evolves is uncertain. Meanwhile, the impact of the Ukraine crisis is exacerbating. No one can stay unaffected by these major crises. We are all in the same boat, and we cannot overcome them unless we work together. We must say no to exclusive blocks, confrontation, containment, decoupling, and supply disruption. Building a high wall around one's turf and forming parallel systems can only split the world and undermine the shared interests of all countries. From the two world wars to years of East-West confrontation in the Cold War, to local wars, terrorism, and regional turbulence since the start of the 21st century. These disasters have all inflicted huge sufferings on humanity. All this tells us that confrontation and division will get us nowhere, while only solidarity and cooperation can keep us on the right path. Second, we should uphold fairness and justice and oppose hegemony. Countries, big or small, strong or weak, rich or poor, are all equal. We should respect each other and treat each other as equals and reject a zero-sum game in which the winner takes all. We should seek peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation rather than hegemony and power politics. Global affairs should be handled through consultation by all stakeholders instead of being dictated by just one country or a small group of countries. No one and no country should impose its will on others or bully others under the guise of multilateralism. We noticed Secretary Austin's remarks on the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy. To us, the strategy is an attempt to build an exclusive small group in the name of a free and open Indo-Pacific, to hijack countries in our region and target one specific country. It is a strategy to create conflict and confrontation to contain and encircle others. China holds that for any strategy to be viable, it should adapt to the historic and global trends and contribute to regional peace, stability, and the shared interests of all. Third, we should uphold the rule of law and oppose acting on one's own. The order of human civilization must be based on the rule of law. Otherwise, the law of jungle will prevail. We must observe basic norms governing international relations enshrined in the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. We should uphold sovereign equality of all nations and say no to bullying and might makes right. We should seek peaceful settlement of disputes and reject the use of or threat to use force. We should not interfere in others' internal affairs and say no to unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction. One is not in a position to champion any international law, rule, or order if it only follows rules that fit its interests, minds others' family business with its own domestic rules, or binds or even attacks others with a convention it has not acceded to itself. Fourth, we should promote exchanges and mutual learning and oppose the practice of closing the door and excluding others. As the Chinese saying goes, all living things should grow without harming one another, and all roads should connect rather than block each other. Countries may differ in history, culture, ethnicity, religion, and development models, but should not be categorized as superior or inferior. We can surely draw on each other's strength. Only the one who wears the shoes knows if they fit or not. The right path for a country must fit its realities and be conducive to its development. The obsession with arrogance, biases, and so-called value-based alliances only turns away from common values of democracy and freedom. True freedom and openness is never something one enjoys at the expense of freedom and openness of others. If I am open to you and you are not open to me, that's not true open. When you lead a good life, you should not prevent others from leading the same good life. The world will only be a better place when everyone leads the same good life, and this is the right way forward. Number two, the world today is in a new period of volatility and transformation. The Chinese government and the military will add more positive momentum to the changing world. China lives in harmony among all nations and universal peace. In everything we do, we strive to promote people's well-being, national rejuvenation, and world peace. Great mountains will stand strong against the raging torrents. In this challenging time, as a responsible major country, China will continue to contribute its share to building world peace, promoting global development, safeguarding international order, and providing public goods. First, China has both achieved a strategic outcome in its COVID-19 response and made a great contribution to the global fight against the pandemic. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people fought a tenacious battle against COVID-19 with great solidarity. The Chinese government puts its people and their lives first, endeavors to prevent both imported cases and domestic resurgences, and follows a dynamic zero-COVID policy. Today, China is one of the safest countries in the world, with the lowest COVID-19 induced death rate. And China is also a global leader that has contributed to world economic recovery. For a country with 1.4 billion people, such as ours, it is no easy job to bring the pandemic under effective control. China's success in COVID response is in itself a major contribution to the global fight and a miracle in the human history of pandemic alleviation. China has also been actively involved in international cooperation on fighting COVID. We have provided assistance to around 170 countries and international organizations and delivered more than 2.2 billion doses of vaccines to over 120 of them. The Chinese military has cooperated with and provided vaccines to the militaries of many countries. As a responsible major country, China will continue to enhance international cooperation and work with other countries to defeat the pandemic. Second, China's development is not a threat to others. On the contrary, it is a big contribution to global peace and development. China will continue to develop. Over the past century, the Chinese people has traveled a long and glorious journey and created a miracle of spectacular development. Last year, we in China celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Communist Party of China, and we realized the first centenary goal of building a moderately prosperous society in all respects. We have made historical achievements in eliminating absolute poverty in China and lifted nearly 99 million rural population out of poverty. This is a rare achievement in the human history of poverty alleviation. Last year, China's GDP grew by 8.1%, and its per capita GDP surpassed $12,000. Earlier this year, overcoming difficulties caused by the pandemic, China hosted the Beijing Winter Olympics and Paralympics that are streamlined, safe, and splendid. Today, China and the rest of the world are closely interconnected. China has, for years, contributed around 30% of global economic growth. It is now the largest trading partner of more than 120 countries and areas. China's Belt and Road Initiative is one of the world's broadest based and largest platform for international cooperation. China's development is a historical trend, and it is neither possible nor sensible to try to stop it. China is rock solid in its commitment to pursuing peaceful development. This is a national policy solemnly written in both the Constitution of the Communist Party of China and the Constitution of the People's Republic of China. China has delivered its achievement not by restoring to colonialism, exploitation, and plundering others. Rather, it owes its development to the hard work and great sacrifice of its people. China's growth is not a charity given by others. China's peaceful development has brought the world with opportunities, economic development, and better living standards. China is on an irreversible course to realize national rejuvenation, and we will surely contribute more to world peace and development. China is committed to building a new type of international relations based on mutual respect, fairness and justice, and win-win cooperation. China will continue to grow friendly and cooperative relations with all countries and provide new opportunities to the world with its new development. We will jointly promote the Global Development Initiative with all parties to achieve security, growth, and prosperity for all. Third, the Chinese military is a force for peace and will remain firm in safeguarding China's sovereignty, security, and development interests. In modern times, the Chinese people suffered so much from foreign aggression and wars. Having gone through the hard times, we in China perhaps know better how valuable peace is. That is why China pursues a defense policy that is defensive in nature. The philosophy of peace, amity, and harmony is rooted in China's 5,000-year history, and it is the binding pursuit of the Chinese nation, upholding peace and harmony, promoting cooperation and common development, and pursuing universal love and non-aggression are values that underpin the Chinese civilization. Since the founding of the PRC, we have never proactively started a war against others or occupied 1 inch of others' land. No matter what stage of development it reaches, China will never seek hegemony or engage in military expansion or arms race. China is committed to upholding world peace and stability and forging new security partnership based on equality, mutual trust, and win-win cooperation. China has military ties with over 150 countries. It has sent nearly 50,000 peacekeepers to UN peacekeeping missions, more than the total sent by the other permanent members of the UN Security Council. China has sent over 120 naval vessels on maritime escort missions and provided protection for more than 7,000 Chinese and foreign ships. As the Chinese military grows, it will add to the growth of the global force for peace. This year marks the 95th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Born in wars, the PLA has fought many powerful adversaries and won many victories. We do not provoke troubles, but we will not flinch in the face of provocation. We do not bully others, but we will not allow others to bully us. Our doctrine is that we will not attack unless we are attacked, and we will surely counterattack if we are attacked. If anyone dares to attack us, the PLA will not hesitate to fight back and defeat the aggressor.
我们应朝着构建亚太命运共同体的美好愿景迈进，共同维护地区和平与稳定。亚太是全球最具增长活力的和发展潜力的地区，同时大国博弈、领土争端、恐怖主义等复杂矛盾和安全威胁交织。作为亚太大家庭的一员，中国认为，构建亚太命运共同体，实现亚太地区的持久和平和普遍安全，是亚太地区的美好。
Durable peace and provide security for all. To realize this vision, we need to appreciate the fact that we are all in the same world and have a shared future. And we should abide by the principle of mutual respect, equality, harmony, and win-win cooperation. In his recent address made at the Boao Forum for Asia, President Xi Jinping proposed the Global Security Initiative. He elaborated on China's stand on promoting security for all and upholding global peace and stability, and called for promoting common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. President Xi pointed a new direction of removing the root cause of international conflicts and achieving enduring global peace and order. Both the history and reality have told us that practicing hegemony and power politics, forming confrontational blocs, or pursuing one's own security at the cost of others will only create new confrontation and risks. Countries in the region should accommodate the core interests and major concerns of each other. China fully appreciates and respects the legitimate concerns of other countries. Likewise, we expect our core and legitimate interests to be respected. I will now state China's position on the following issues. First, on Taiwan. Taiwan is first and foremost China's Taiwan. It's an internal affair of China's. I have 3 points to make here. First, China will definitely realize its reunification. China's reunification is a great cause of the Chinese nation, and it is a historical trend that no one and no force can stop. Peaceful reunification is the greatest wish of the Chinese people. We have the utmost sincerity and are willing to make greatest efforts to achieve that. And we are still making every effort with the greatest sincerity to deliver peaceful reunification. The Taiwan question arose out of the weakness and chaos of the Chinese nation. It is a legacy of China's civil war and will surely be resolved as the Chinese nation achieves its rejuvenation. Second, those who pursue Taiwan independence in an attempt to split China will definitely come to no good end. The Democratic Progressive Party authorities are attempting to change the status quo that both the mainland and Taiwan belong to one China. They refuse to recognize the 1992 consensus and are pursuing incremental Taiwan independence. As a pawn of anti-China foreign groups, they will only be used and then abandoned by their masters. The United States fought a civil war for its unity. Though China never wants such a civil war, we will resolutely crush any attempt to pursue Taiwan independence. Let me make this clear. If anyone dares to secede Taiwan from China, we will not hesitate to fight. We will fight at all costs, and we will fight to the very end. This is the only choice for China. Third, foreign interference is doomed to failure. Some country has violated its promise on the One China principle as it applies to Taiwan. It has connived at and supported the moves of separatist forces for Taiwan independence. It keeps playing the Taiwan card against China, and it often cites the so-called Taiwan Relations Act, using its domestic law to interfere in the internal affairs of another country. China is firmly opposed to such acts. Here, I want to make it clear to those seeking Taiwan independence and those behind them, the pursuit of Taiwan independence is a dead end. And stop the delusion. And soliciting foreign support will never work. And they should never think about it. The wheels of history roll on, and no one can stop China's path towards reunification. No one should ever underestimate the resolve and the capabilities of the China's armed forces to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Second, on the South China Sea. China calls for turning the South China Sea into a sea of peace, friendship, and cooperation. This is a shared wish and responsibility of countries in the region. Here, I think we need to answer three questions. First, who should we rely on to protect peace in the South China Sea? Thanks to the joint efforts of China and ASEAN countries, we have seen greater stability in the area. China respects freedom of navigation enjoyed by all countries under international law. Actually, freedom of navigation is not under threat in the South China Sea. China is one of the biggest beneficiaries of freedom of navigation in this area. If it were hampered in the South China Sea, China would suffer the most, because without freedom of navigation, China's economy would hardly grow. However, some big power has long practiced navigation hegemony on the pretext of freedom of navigation. It has flexed muscles by sending warships and warplanes on a rampage in the South China Sea. As neighbors that cannot be moved away from each other, we countries in this region must stay vigilant and prevent some countries outside this region from meddling in the affairs of our region and turning the South China Sea into troubled waters. Second, how do we build friendship in the South China Sea? China and ASEAN countries are connected by geography and culture. Last year, the two sides established comprehensive strategic partnership, marking a new milestone in the history of China-ASEAN relations. As long as China and ASEAN countries continue to strengthen mutual trust and build consensus, no one will be able to break our solidarity. Those who try to sow discords among us, stir up confrontation, and force others to take sides will only end up in failure. Third, how do we promote cooperation in the South China Sea? China calls for settling maritime disputes through friendly consultation. Neighbors sometimes may not agree with each other on every issue, and this is natural. The key lies in upholding our shared bigger interests while solving and resolving small differences, properly handling the disputes, and working together to promote cooperation and common development. We should proceed from our overall and long-term interests, seek full and effective implementation of the DOC, and make steady progress in the consultation of the COC. We should accommodate the interests of all parties and deepen and expand tangible cooperation, and we should make joint efforts to better protect and develop the South China Sea. Third, on China-US relations. The China-US relationship is at a critical and crucial juncture. China believes that a stable China-US relationship serves the interests of both countries and the rest of the world. China and the US are two important major countries, and China-US cooperation is vital for global peace and development. Confrontation will benefit neither our two countries nor other countries. China opposes using competition to define the bilateral relations. It will be a historic and strategic mistake to insist on taking China as a threat and an adversary or even an enemy. We require the US side to stop smearing and containing China. Stop interfering in China's internal affairs and stop harming China's interests. The bilateral relationship cannot improve unless the US side can do that. Both sides should implement the important consensus reached by the two heads of state. At the request of President Biden, President Xi had a video conference and a phone call with him in November last year and March this year. The two leaders agreed that China and the US should respect each other, live in peace, and avoid confrontation. However, some people in the US still try to suppress and contain China on all fronts. China's position is very clear. If you want to talk, we should talk with mutual respect. If you want to engage, we should seek peaceful coexistence. If you want to cooperate, we should promote mutual benefits and win-win results. However, if you want confrontation, we will fight to the end. The two militaries should make positive efforts for a stable bilateral relationship. An old Chinese saying goes, since ancient times, great commanders are never belligerent. If someone forces a war on China, the PLA will not flinch. The Chinese and US militaries should enhance strategic trust, avoid misunderstanding and miscalculation, manage risks and crises, and prevent frictions and conflicts. China hopes to have a sound, steady, and a growing relationship with the United States. Nevertheless, we will also be firm in safeguarding our national interests and dignity. Fourth, on the Ukraine crisis. It is the top focus of the international community and has exerted major impact on the international strategic environment. China deeply regrets and is greatly saddened by current developments in Ukraine. I think the historical context behind Ukraine is clear. What is the root cause of this crisis? Who is the mastermind behind it? Who loses the most? And who stands to gain the most? Who is promoting peace? And who is adding fuel to the fire? I think we all know the answers to these questions, and I think relevant countries need to reflect on the roles they have played. China's position is fair and objective. China holds that it is important to observe the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, respect sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries, and respect and accommodate the legitimate security concerns of all parties. Conflict or war is the last thing China wants to see. Meanwhile, we do not believe that maximum pressure or sanctions can solve the problem. If anything, they may even exacerbate tensions and further complicate the issues. China is committed to promoting peace talks. On the second day of the conflict, President Xi had a call with President Putin. Later, and President Xi mentioned in the phone call that we need to have peace talks. Later, President Xi had phone calls with President Biden and other world leaders to push for peace negotiations. As an old Chinese saying goes, he who ties the bear to the tiger should untie it. China supports talks between Russia and Ukraine. We also hope the US and NATO will have talks with Russia to create conditions for an early ceasefire. As a responsible major country, China will continue to play a constructive role and contribute our share to easing tension and realizing a political resolution of the crisis. This year, the Communist Party of China will convene its 20th National Congress. We will continue to advance our course on all fronts. There is so much in common between the Chinese dream and the dreams of people of other countries. The Chinese military will work hand in hand with militaries of other countries to deepen security cooperation, build a community with a shared future for mankind, and make new and greater contributions to both global peace and peace in the Asia-Pacific. And with that, I conclude my speech.
Yeah, you heard him. You heard him, the Minister of Defense for China, making a very, very big case recently, just yesterday. And he's making the case for China and America's pivot from, you heard recently, it pivoted from Afghanistan, where it ran after the war became very costly for more than 20 years. And in fact, they did not only do that coming from Afghanistan, they also stole money from the Afghani government, more than $7 billion. $7 billion, that is the money which was stolen from Afghanistan. And now they have pivoted towards Ukraine, and they are continuing to push towards China and the South China Sea to disturb China. And the claim is that they are practicing their freedom of navigation, which is untrue. We made an analysis on this situation while the United States was moving from Afghanistan through Ukraine. And we have had that analysis. We have that video. If you want, you can go out there and watch it so that I don't repeat all that. But in all, it is a grand neo-colonial strategy. What is the lesson in this? The Chinese are standing firm, and it is inevitable that China will be able to overcome this challenge, because China is very strong today. It's stronger than the China of the 1950s during the the Korea War, when they won a war against actually the United States. When they were fighting in Korea, China was fighting on the side of North Korea. and they were able to defeat the United States and not allow it to come to the north part, because North Korea is very close to China. So the Chinese understood that if the United States comes and takes over North Korea, there will not be a buffer there, and then they will quickly enter China and colonize China. And China, ever since it was colonized and it regained its independence and unified in 1949, China is very, very cautious and fears, aggression and humiliation. They called that the century of humiliation, because countries like Germany, Japan, Britain, Portugal, the United States, all those countries, they came and colonized it. But what are the lessons as Africans for us? That's the focus. That should be the focus. What are the lessons for us as Africans when we are talking about the things that are going on in the world today? The withdrawal from Afghanistan, the war that is going on in Ukraine, the disturbance, how they are disturbing. These are colonialists. What we have to understand is that these are not people who are spreading human rights. These are not people who are spreading democracy, but these are colonialists. So their major purpose of moving around and going around these countries and disturbing everyone, disturbing in Cuba, disturbing in Venezuela, disturbing Russia, now they are disturbing China, they are disturbing Iran. They are colonialists. That is the nature of it. And the purpose is economic. Okay? Their purpose is economics. The economies of the Western world have been declining. I want you to go out there and examine the data from 2020, because there has been an economic depression in the Western world. So the economies are shrinking. An example of that is the United States economy. This year, it contracted by 1.3%, while the Chinese economy grew by 4.3%. Okay, so the United States economy declined, it contracted by 1.3%. So their economies are declining. Whenever their economies are declining, then you see them starting wars. What is the purpose of these wars? They started them to plunder, and they have been for a very long time scared of China, that China is rising to take over and then create that balance, like what we see in the 50s, 60s. The Soviet Union was creating a balance in the world. And the Soviet Union and China all together, they were helping the colonized world. So these guys are angry with China, and they are angry with Russia, especially both of them, because they have been stopping them in the exploitation. Okay, the Chinese and the Russians have been providing a buffer, especially in Africa and even South America, Latin America. They have been providing some sort of security and protection, okay, so that these colonialists will not exploit the vulnerable people, what we call the global south. When we are talking about the global south, we are talking about Africa, Latin America, and other poor nations in Asia, whereby the capitalists from these neo-colonial states and these colonial countries, they make it as if it is their gardens. These countries have been made as farms that these guys, they go in and they start exploiting and exploiting resources and taking over everything, taking over electricity, taking over water. So they have come in that way. You can go further and examine this kind of attitude in Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's book called Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. So the purpose, even though they achieve it in different methods, like what Nkrumah said, that the substance of neocolonialism doesn't change, it's only the form. The substance of colonialism doesn't change, it's only the form which changes. So they have not changed what the purpose of coming here. The purpose of colonialists coming to Africa was to exploit raw materials and market for their products. So that is what they wanted. They wanted raw material for their industries, and that purpose has not changed. That is the reason why they came here. So it is only, they are changing only how they are achieving it. Okay, so they are disturbing China and Russia because these guys have been helping Africa to a certain level that China has been providing more relatively favorable terms of trade to the African continent. What have they been doing for them, Europe and the whole Western world? They have been robbing Africa. They have been robbing Africa dry and taking everything. It is what has helped them, from labor, of slavery, and the materials which they took. They have been taking from here since colonialism started in 1884 and 1885 up to now. Now neocolonialism. Now they take through blackmail. What they are doing now is that they are taking through blackmail, and they say they are giving us aid, but in actuality they are taking what belongs to us. And Russia has been coming in to help. You see, like what Russia has been doing in Mali. Russia went in to help to protect the government in Mali. Russia went in to protect the government in Syria. They had gone there to overthrow the government in Syria, the government of Bashar Assad, the president of Syria. And the claim is human rights. These guys don't care about human rights. These guys, they have killed millions. They have killed millions of people, but they hang on to, the idea of human rights, and they're always telling people that, they are about human rights. They're not about human rights. These guys are about exploitation and killing and taking, other people's resources. So this economic decline that is happening in their countries is the one which is causing all these problems, that they want to continue to exploit Latin America and exploit Africa. And Russia is stopping them. China is stopping them. So they want to see that they punish Russia first. They want to punish China first, so that they can now take over. Once again, they can take over Africa and Latin America, Venezuela, Cuba, and all those countries, and exploit the oil in what they call the strategy of maximum extraction, which was coined by Dick Cheney, who was the vice president to George Bush Jr. In the United States. So this is the strategy. And what must Africa do? We as Africans, we have also to start struggling by ourselves. Now, this struggle, because the thing is that these colonialists are not going to win this war. However much their arrogancy has reached an end, okay, that the world cannot accommodate it anymore. You can see that Venezuela resisted, Iran resisted, Syria resisted, Russia is standing up, and China is standing up. So a lot of nations now. So you can see that even Biden tried to have a summit of Americas, and he tried to exclude Cuba and Venezuela. But the people, the president, for example, the president in Mexico said that if Cuba is excluded and Venezuela is excluded and Bolivia, is excluded, we will also not attend that summit. It doesn't make sense that we can continue, that the United States and its colonial, friends, they continue to exploit these countries and continue to impose sanctions, unjustified sanctions. They killed millions of people. These sanctions have killed millions of people. They have caused, these sanctions have caused untold suffering onto the people. Look at Zimbabwe. But Zimbabwe is strong because it is surrounded by other African countries, which have been helping, like South Africa and the other African countries. So the countries have suffered. Cuba has suffered that an embargo has been placed on it. Many sanctions have been placed, like in Iraq, when sanctions were placed there in 1993, 1994. 500,000 children died. 500,000. Can you imagine 500,000 children dying? 500,000, 500,000, more than 500,000. The war on Iraq recently, of where they killed Gaddafi, where they killed, Saddam, it killed more than 1 million people, innocent people, 1 million. Can you imagine 1 million people? And these are the people who are talking about human rights. So what must we do as Africans? We have started also struggling as Africans. As you have seen that now Africans have started looking for answers. Where are the answers? Okay, but the answers are within us as Africans. And what must we do? We have to do the right thing also. We have to start struggling, by ourselves. We have to start pushing forward. And one of those things which we have started is that we have put up petitions, which are petitioning the United, the Union, the African Union, and the African heads of state, for us to get a single African state by 2022. We are looking at this year 2022, but these petitions can only move if you guys help us as Africans, because the continent is ours, and there's no one, the leaders we are waiting for to correct the mistakes that were done in the 1960s, where the continent was handed over to colonialism and neocolonialism, are us. We are the leaders. We are those leaders that if we don't take the responsibility, then there's no one who's going to do it. So we are saying that we have started up these petitions, and these petitions are for petition in the African Union and the African heads of state, for us to have a single African state. We are demanding for a united African government, a single government. Number two, we are demanding for a single African passport, okay, and a single African currency. Number three, we are demanding for a stoppage on the wars in the continent. And this calls for establishment of African High Command. And all these three petitions, I can tell you that we are working with the PLO Lumumba Foundation. It has endorsed these petitions. The petitions have been endorsed by the PLO Lumumba Foundations, we are working with them, and I've placed them in the comment section here and the description. You can find those 3 petitions. There is petition number 1, petition number 2, and petition number 3. We are working with the PLO Lumumba Foundation. We are working with Pan-African Daily TV, Dr. Susan. We are working with Dr. Edmund Falfak, who is a renowned, oncologist in Ohio State University, in the, medical center, Ohio State University Medical Center in the United States. And we are working with Sister Shanice. So we are working with the Bullion Bank of Africa, Mr. Rosenthal. So all these people have endorsed these petitions. And the Honorable Joshua Maponga also has endorsed these petitions. So they are for us to push and make Africa better. If we do not do the work, no one is going to do the work. And this is an opportunity. All through history, it is moments that like this, when these colonists have been engaged in senseless wars, that our people have found an opportunity and struggled and defeated them, and they have broken through. If you look at 1791, if you look at 1945, all these periods were characterized by, agitation and wars, within the neo-colonial camp, that they were struggling, for economic dominance. And this is the same thing that is happening today. So we have to do the right thing as Africans. And those petitions, we are looking for 1 million signatures for each of the petitions. And then we will take it from there as African civil society. We, the Africans on the continent and Africans abroad, we can do this. So sign the petitions down in the comment section. I'll place them there and the description. Go out there and sign those petitions and share them with 2 of your favorite people, 2 of your favorite contacts. 2 of your favorite contacts, share those petitions, and then we will take it from there and encourage them to do the same. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Reimagined, where we come to analyze the situations of, that are going on in the world, the happenings in the world, whether you're talking about technology, geopolitics, and all the other things. We come here and we analyze them. We have produced many videos, many videos on this channel. Go out there and watch them. Analysis on Ukraine, analysis on the 4th and the 3rd Industrial Revolution. What is the 3rd and the 4th Industrial Revolution? Are we in the 4th Industrial Revolution, or we are in the 3rd Industrial Revolution? All those, we have analyzed them. The United States pivot into Asia. Biden recently had a visit in Asia. What does that mean? Okay, why are they moving to Asia? What does that mean for Africa? We have done that analysis already. So this is Africa Reimagined, and my name is Kwame Gonza, and we, like I said, are working with the PLO Lumumba Foundation, Honorable Joshua Maponga, and all the other strong Pan-Africanists in pushing forward the African agenda so that we can achieve the Africa we want. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you another time. Thank you.